Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be showing you a little bit about bunker busting bombs. Now that's just a fun way to say that. And one of the things I want to do is, first of all, mention the fact that trying to hit something that you can't see from the air is a kind of an interesting experience. So always kind of preface anything that you're going to be hearing with that reality. So if something doesn't quite make sense, it might have something to do with that. So first of all, let's take a look at bunkers in general in command modern operations. And I have a group of different ones just for the purposes of demonstration. I know you really want to see that thing hit this, and I set it all up nice and neat so it could show off the differences. I got you covered, don't worry. So let's go ahead and pause. So the first thing is not a bunker. As far as bunkers go, underground bunker, I should be more specific here. You have a straight up surface bunker. And what you'll notice here, if you take a look here, is it'll have a category under the bunker. It'll say it is hardened, and of course it'll be building bunker. That's just kind of fun to say. One thing you'll notice here is that it's got 1,600 damage points, pretty average size, pretty big. Again, nothing too special. Now remember, this is a surface bunker. I know we're doing bunker busting today, but this is something on the ground. We don't have to get to it. We can just hit it conventionally, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. This guy in the middle, of course, is an actual underground target. And what makes it different in command modern operations, if I come swinging down here, you'll observe the fact it is a land structure hardened building underground. You also notice its general armor's pretty darn strong. It's got about double the damage points here, which is not that big of a deal, but it's also a much bigger target, so theoretically it's easier to hit. Our final type of bunker, and this is kind of where it starts getting a little weird, is an actual mountain bunker. Now, this is something that, as you can see from our picture here, it is integrated. These things are not supposed to be easy to hit. Again, if you have basically a hangar in the side of a mountain, this is the same concept here. It has something kind of unique about it, and I want to show you real quick, because once you see it, you'll never not see it. Did it do both screens? Yes, it did. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Do you notice my regular bunker has some signatures? It's got a visual signature. It's got a radar signature. Watch what happens when I go to our buddy over here, who's his underground mountain bunker. You'll observe it has no signatures. This target cannot be detected. I know that sounds kind of like, oh, obviously, it's a bunker. But the reality is, if you're building a scenario and you make this thing not auto-detectable, it also means you'll never be able to see it. You could be inside of this thing, and you still will not be able to see it inside this game. Now, the third bunker I grabbed here is our lovely underground hardened bunker C3M. One of the things I really appreciate about this one is if you actually look here, it says underground hardened bunker C3M, penetrators are required. That's only partially true, as you'll see. But notice, it's about the same hit points, it's about the same size. There's really nothing special, and again, it's invisible unless it is auto-detect on. All right, those are the lessons. Let's see what happens now. So first thing what I've done is I've asked this lovely B-52 to inconvenience these targets with some high explosives in the form of everybody's favorite GBU-10E. This is sort of an early version of a laser-guided bomb, but what I really appreciate about it is it makes a really big bang, except when it doesn't hit the target. But it'll be able to prove my point pretty clearly anyway. Don't worry about it. There'll be a follow-up in a second. So if I go ahead and switch on a God's eye view here, you can see here that my underground hardened bunker, it actually took a pretty heavy hit there. Again, when you have 2,000 pounds of explosives precisely dropped basically on the front door, it's going to cause some problems. Now, if I swing over to my mountain bunker, you can see, again, I broke some china, kind of a thing like that. Swinging to my underground bunker, surprisingly, it wasn't a very clean hit, so it didn't do that much damage. And of course, my surface bunker, quite hilariously, had a malfunctioning GBU. So basically, it made a whistling noise, and you hear thunk. And that's all you get. So if you want to imagine kind of a gutter ball, I guess is what I would call that one. So what we have now, too, is you can take a look at my little scenarios. We have a group of GBU 31s here. And now the reason I picked these is because I wanted to demonstrate that this is a lot of explosives. These are all Mark 84s. Big bombs here. And what you'll observe is as they go slamming into this underground target, ow, ooch, ooh. Let me go ahead and let this smoke set. That was some clean shooting, by the way. That's hard to do. If I actually were to click on this, let me click on God's eye view, you will notice that many thousands and thousands of pounds of explosives did indeed do a substantial amount of damage. Actually, cut it in half. You'll notice we didn't really penetrate into it. As a matter of fact, if you were to open up your little end game here, you can read all about it, and it'll say, we struck the target, kind of a thing like that. But what you'll notice is only a few of those actually did real damage. Again, we're shaking China here, and you can see 10%. 10%. We didn't start a fire. Obviously, we can't flood it because it's underwater. Obviously, it's not underwater, kind of a thing. So as you can see, traditional weapons just aren't optimized for the process. Now, like I said, I'm a little disappointed that that fellow on the right decided not to work correctly. Of course, it's going to do that when you go to do demonstrations. You know how these things go. All right, so let's go speed it up. Let's try that again. This time, Okay, okay, ready. Again, remember, this is the surface bunker. Half the hit points, here we go. There we go, okay. Thank you, now I can demonstrate my point here. All right, you'll see that this one did take substantial damage, only on account of the fact that it was kind of a near miss. I mean, obviously, losing, 15% of your existence is quite a near miss. But the key thing here is you'll see that it did do a regular amount of damage. And again, much less damage. Hopefully you get that part. All right, now let's get to the actual bunker busting. So we'll go swing back, and one of the things I'm going to change real fast. Here's a quick little tip. If you set this to computer only, you don't have to put up with that every time. All right, we're in business. So we have a B-52 here. Now, what I've done is I've intentionally changed its loadout, and I've cheated a little bit here. But again, you could see I pretty much got all the bunker busters. And for some very, very sharp-eyed folks, you'll probably recognize a couple of the early bunker busters, like the Tall Boy and the Grand Slam, are not here. You also notice I didn't get a BAP 100. I didn't get a PB 500 or anything like that. Those are all really, really, really solid ones. But what I did do is target the ones that pretty much everybody knows. You can see I got a CAB 1500 in there. Now, there's a wide variety of different style bunker busters. And of course, this B-52 could not possibly hold all of these in here. But they're all basically the same general concept. The idea is you have some kind of guidance package on the end of something that's very hardened, that has a very long delayed blast on it. So if you take a look, for example, at the GBU-28 here, which is the classic Gulf War weapon of choice, even USAF 1991, you get an idea here. You can see that this thing is basically a rocket-boosted bomb with a very, very, very precise warhead. The idea is basically this thing would drop, the rocket would fire, go thump, boom. Kind of like and that's actually a pretty good demonstration. It's a lot louder than that. But the reality is this thing would basically dive into the ground and then explode. One of the things you don't realize about this thing, which I saw was very fascinating, is it is a 4,700-pound bomb. This is not like something tiny, and you can see just how much. It's a 670 pound of trittanol. This is not a messing around weapon. The other thing I found very interesting about the GBU-28 here is the fact that when you look at it, it's pretty reliable, and it requires a laser spot to do the deed. So let's go ahead and drop this thing on our good old friend, the really, really, really hardened target here. We'll grab the command bunker. You can see I have such a good choice of what I'd like to use here. We're going to use the GBU-28 here. Let's go ahead and speed up time a little bit. Remember, this is the Gulf War era weapon, almost 5,000 pounds of explosives here. And there it goes. Now, one of the cool things here, and one of the things that blows my mind is, again, this is considered a guided weapon. You can see right now it's dropping just shy of the speed of sound. And one of the things it should do, which I don't think they're going to emulate, or simulate, I should say, emulate's one thing, simulate in command, is this thing should more or less be dropped vertical. Like, you really shouldn't be doing this oblique shot like this. Like you can see right now, it's pitched at about 26 degrees. You really want to come straight down with this weapon because that's how it would work. And as you can see, remember we had a 15% chance of it malfunctioning. As you can see, we got the lucky aim, and it just cleaned that flat out missed. The weapon malfunctioned. Isn't that kind of funny? I'm having a fun day with that. All right, back up, try that again. All right, second time. Imagine how embarrassing that would have been for the air crew when just looking at each other going, it does explode, right? So this is actually a little bit better of a shot because we're a little bit steeper. And again, you want to try to get it as vertical as you can get to get the maximum penetration, which again is our goal. We're trying to get underground with this weapon as it drops here. All right, see, this one works better. Oh, we missed. That's a 1991 Gulf War laser technology there. And you can see we just straight up missed 7-point off the side. And obviously, it blew up and didn't do much. But one of the things I love about that is just to demonstrate how the early versions, you needed to drop a few of them to actually be successful with it. So let's go ahead and fast forward time a little bit here. We'll go back into our lovely little inventory of weapons to something that was a little bit more modern. And again, you jump up to the GBU-37, was kind of the improved version of this particular weapon. This is a little bit later on, if you want to think more like Serbia Kosovo kind of thing like that. And you can see we've got that large garden section. We have a very, very strong hardened warhead. And the actual explodey bits are the ones in the middle here that's going to be doing the job there. A couple things have changed, of course. We now have INS navigation, which theoretically will solve some of those issues we have. You also notice we kept the same 4,700-pound weapon size. And that's actually really, really impressive because that's a lot of explosive. And you can see B2 Spirit, so I'm about right with that one. All right, now watch the difference here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop 3 of these at once. And you're going, wait, what? Let me show you a cool trick. Hold down Shift F1, then press Shift, drag a box, let go. So I'm going to grab my MOP here. Whoop, wrong one. We'll get to you. We'll grab the GBU-37. I'm going to grab all 4 of these with a Shift click. Click my GBU37, set this to the number 1, and then press Allocate Weapons. Now, if I unpause like this, you will notice my lovely B-52 has no problem giving everybody a bomb, and you get a bomb, and you get a bomb. So again, same kind of thing as last time, and you can see it's basically the same weapon, but just a much, much better guidance package. Theoretically, this thing should work. And should is in italics, by the way. I don't know if you could hear that from my voice. So here they come. Again, a little bit flat. You wouldn't drop a bomb like that flat. And you can see it hits one of our bunkers. It's my surface bunker. It's that bunker. And of course, here comes the good one. Here comes the good one. Whoa, watch this. Bang. All right, Control V. Now, this is where things get interesting. All 4 of those look like they were pretty clean hits. I think the only one that did not hit was this one. Yeah, about 45 feet off, which against a bunker, it's not good. That's not good. Again, you're going to break a bunch of light bulbs and stuff like that with a hit like that. So one of the things we can see here is our surface bunker, which again has no protection from the ground above it, basically caught fire and is having a bad day. Our little first one, the underground bunker 1, yeah, like I said, you probably shattered all the lights and stuff like that, but it's actually okay. This one, by the way, missed. Coming over here, this is the mountain bunker. Theoretically, you've got a lot of mountain on top of you. Same thing. Again, about the same. Wasn't a clean hit. And when we swing over to this one, you'll see that we did actually pretty hefty amount of damage. This was a very, very clean hit against this. But notice the difference. Same amount of explosives, much, much higher effect that we've had on our targets here. Next up on the mic, of course, is going to be the CAB 1500L PR model. Now, this is kind of a neat weapon. This is basically an Eastern weapon, a Russian weapon. And, the big difference with this one compared to some of the other ones, I'm going to grab it real quickly here. I can keep running just in case something happens, is the weapon's just not as large. You'll see here it's a 750 kilogram. If you want a quick translation, that's just shy of 2,000 pounds. So it's about a Mark 84. It's not nearly as big as the other one, which is literally twice the size. But you'll notice that it does an enormous amount of damage because it has such a bigger warhead compared to the rest of the body of the weapon. So this is a classic example of let's get more bang for our buck, literally by just having a larger one. One thing I really like about this weapon is it targets runways and puts very big holes in them, which is pretty cool. But anyway, let's jump back down here so you can see what the Western version of this is. And again, this is a very, very big explosion because more of the weapon is dedicated to the exploding parts than the weapon is dedicated to the guidance parts. And again, you'll see the difference pretty much right away, hopefully. So, okay, here it comes. We've got a little CAB 1500. Again, this is a laser guided. The PR means I forget what it is. Don't ask. Again, I think of it as penetrator, but I'm sure it has another name for it. And let's see here. It looks like pretty clean. Again, ooh, it's right down the center. Let's see how we did here. Now, as you can see, this mangled the interior of this bunker here. And the reason it mangled it so well was several reasons. First of all, it was a clean hit. Several of these we haven't gotten clean. Second of all, and this is huge, the explosive was so much larger and more powerful than we had in the previous one, which just was targeting trying to get down deeper. Now, again, depending on the real world, how deep the bunkers are, and again, those kind of elements are going to have a big impact on just how that would have matched up side by side. Now, if we could, of course, we could dial in how deep the bunker is, and then we would have seen that that previous weapon, even though it was a smaller weapon, probably would have been less effective than, like I said, the GBU 28 and 37, only on account of the fact that those weapons were designed for more penetration. The other one was designed for more explosive potential. Now, the interesting thing is there's a couple weapons that exist that are basically kind of hybrids between the different types. And of course, those would be your BLU 109s and your BLU 122s. And basically, they're almost called in the American version of the CAB 1500 there because they're optimized for explodey bits rather than diving. So if I were to open up my little bit real quickly here, we'll pop into my weapons real fast. I believe I did one of those. Those are 113s, and there's a 109. Got it. But one of the great things about this particular warhead is you'll notice that I can mount it on something other than a bomb that I got to walk up and drop right on somebody's head, giving us a whole different kind of tactical flexibility. So the AGM-130, of course, is a really, really slick glide weapon. So if I were to go ahead and grab this one real quickly, you'll notice I'm already within range. I can just boop, boop, like that. Go ahead and hit spacebar there, and you can see that weapon goes just like that. And now the cool thing is you can actually see that this thing is basically a rocket-powered bomb here. So it gets a nice little boost. You can see it's actually busted the speed of sound already, and it's basically gliding in a nice sweet arc all the way down onto the target area below. Let's speed up time a little bit here. We'll see if we can catch the fun parts that happen. 30 seconds to go. I love this feature. I'm so glad they added that. There we go. Again, still kind of flat. So this would be basically a glancing shot. Bam. Woohoo! As we can see, As is today's trend, you'll notice here that we just missed the weapon malfunction. We were having a good day for that. Talk about probability not being on our side. That's okay. But the key thing there is that you notice that we have the same capability as these other bombs, but we just have a massively improved range. Now, when it comes to weapons, of course, and people think of the classic, what is the bunker buster to end all bunker busters? Like, I need to hit something a mile underground. You just can't do that. The technology doesn't exist unless it has a physics package, as I'm going to put that in finger quotes real quickly. However, if you absolutely have to do damage, you have this one, the GBU 57 Alpha in Bravo. Now, you can see a picture of this thing, and you're like, oh, that looks like the other ones. It's got a big, heavy nose. It's got the big guidance section on it. But there's something you might be missing with this, and this is what I think is kind of fun. You will observe that it is a GBU 57. It has 2,400 kilograms of high explosive HTP. It's big stuff. And this does more damage than any of these bunkers can survive. The other thing that's incredible about this weapon is it's nice and fast. You get about 18 seconds worth of cruise on it. But of course, it has all the latest and greatest weapon inertial navigation, GPS guidance, everything under the sun. This is a fun weapon to play with. So let's go ahead and shift F1 there. We'll go ahead and drop. You get one. Now let's see here. GBU 57. We'll go ahead and grab that. Again, I'm amazed you can carry two. These things are gigantic weapons. We'll go ahead and drag that one, and we'll go ahead and drop. Oop, that was a 28, but that's okay. It's going to do the same deed. So we're interested in the one on the left here, not the one on the right. All right, getting a little bit closer. Getting a little closer. Getting a little close, my friend. There it goes. There's one. That was the 28, though. That one doesn't go. There it goes. That's the one we want to watch. So again, this is the world's largest. You can see here, like I said, it's a huge weapon. I think it's, just off the top of my head, I think it's like a 30,000-pound bomb. Like, it's just huge. But anyway, bam. Okay, let's see what happened this time. Control V. You notice it didn't malfunction, right? So if I open the sucker up one more time, we can see we got a pretty clean hit. And again, we did a pretty good amount of damage to it. I don't think it was a clean hit. No, it was not a clean hit. So we actually missed it by 31 feet. But in missing it by 31 feet, not only did we shatter all their china and knock all their Legos over, but we also set fire to the bunker. So it gives you an idea of just how lethal that weapon is. I'm not satisfied with that end result, though. So let's go ahead and shift F1 one more time here. We'll go grab another one of those. That's the one I want, 57A. I like how it's literally a mop because it's a massive ordnance penetrator. I mean, like, that's on the nose. Okay, this time it will succeed. And again, you're probably noticing you have to drop several of these to actually hit the bunker because you can't see the bunker. You might get like a little vent on the ground or something like that. Now that's correct. It's a 6. Oh, there we go. And you can see if you do hit the target, it obliterates it because that's exactly what that particular weapon is designed for. Now, at this point, you should have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. The key tactical considerations, obviously, you have to detect the target first, but you can't unless the scenario designer lets you. The other thing you probably observed, now go moving back here. We'll have a nice little, I just want to call it, fireworks show at the end here, just for fun. The other thing you probably observed is the weapons themselves are not terribly accurate. No matter how hard we try with those kind of things, the reality is you're probably not going to hit it with one bomb. You probably also noticed that with the later generation, they traded penetrating power for having a little bit more explosive, which was a nice trade-off, because the nice thing with those weapons is you can also use them against runways. And again, we have no runways here. Runways are very hardened. You can see we're trying. He's got to go back and do it again because unfortunately he's all basically LGB and everything like that. So if I open the sucker up, you can see my surface bunker on fire. You can see this one. Actually, the ammo bunker wins the game here. This one has been untouched. And of course, our lovely command bunker. And again, the last thing you probably noticed from this video, which again, this happens in the real world all the time, was the fact that many of my weapons did not hit. Many of my weapons malfunctioned, which is just kind of the nature of the beast when you're dealing with things like that. So when it's like, hey, what am I going to use? Just remember, you're going to need a lot more than you expect when you're hitting a target you can't see. Enjoy.